What happens to your brain? When you're trapped in porn addiction, and can you break free? Want to support this content? Smash that like, hit subscribe, and don't forget to share and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's tackle this together. Did you know over 60% of young men report struggling to quit porn despite immense guilt? Some studies liken the neurological impact of porn to that of crack cocaine. Yes, crack. Soldiers returning from combat zones with internet access often report disturbing escalations in porn use involving violence or risk. Stick around. You'll learn exactly what's going on in your brain, where this obsession springs from, and step-by-step strategies to reclaim your life. Introduction. Why this matters now. What if something seemingly harmless is rewiring your entire nervous system, hijacking your impulses, and sabotaging your intimate life? That's what's happening to thousands of young men who feel stuck in porn addiction. More than a moral issue, it's a neurological and emotional crisis. This isn't just kids these days. It's a real battle playing out in bedrooms and behind screens worldwide. Today we'll dig deep. The science, the lived experiences, how to fight back, and why you shouldn't ever feel ashamed for needing help. Part 1. Porn addiction. Not just a habit, a brain hijack, the dopamine loop. How porn hijacks the brain's reward system. Let's start with the science. Watching pornography causes an intense surge of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical that's responsible for motivation, pleasure, and reinforcement of behavior. But here's where it gets dangerous. Unlike natural dopamine hits from real-life intimacy, porn offers an endless stream of novelty, variety, and visual stimulation. Every click, every new video, every different category, it's all feeding the same loop. Over time, this artificial spike conditions the brain to crave only high-intensity, high-reward stimuli. This leads to what neuroscientists call dopamine tolerance, a state in which the brain's reward system becomes desensitized. That once thrilling clip, now it barely registers. And so, the user chases the next fix. The pattern mimics that of substance abuse. You need more to feel the same. Neuroscientist Dr. Donald Hilton compares this process to neural graffiti, where the brain's reward circuits are physically altered by overstimulation. This isn't just theory, it's visible on brain scans. The more often the cycle is repeated, the more deeply embedded it becomes, making regular human connection and everyday pleasure feel dull and unrewarding by comparison. Craving like hard drugs, the neuroscience of porn. Dependency. Porn doesn't just act like a habit, it functions more like a behavioral drug. Numerous peer-reviewed studies have shown that the brain of a porn addict lights up in almost identical ways to that of a cocaine or heroin user. For example, functional MRI, fMRI scans show that the nucleus accumbens, a key part of the brain's reward center, is activated in similar patterns during porn consumption and substance use. One groundbreaking study published in JAMA Psychiatry revealed that men who watched large amounts of porn had less gray matter in the reward region of the brain. Less matter equals less ability to experience pleasure naturally. Imagine that. What once gave you joy no longer even registers, because your brain has been reprogrammed to respond only to digital hyperstimulation. In real-life therapy sessions, addiction specialists often treat porn addiction with similar strategies used for alcohol or opioid dependence. Dr. Valerie Voon, a neuroscientist at Cambridge University, warns that pornography use can become compulsive in the same way drug use can. That's why many people who try to quit experience withdrawal-like symptoms, irritability, insomnia, anxiety, even depression. Escalation and the destruction of the sexual template. Here's where it gets even more serious. The content doesn't stay the same. Over time, many users report escalating from relatively softcore or romantic porn to increasingly aggressive, degrading, or extreme genres. Why? Because the same dopamine flood that once responded to a simple scene now demands something edgier. This is known as content escalation, and it's not just a preference, it's a neurological compulsion. Clinical psychologist Dr. Gary Wilson, author of Your Brain on Porn, explains that the brain starts to rewire its arousal template. In other words, what you find sexually stimulating is no longer based on real-world intimacy. It's based on fantasy scenarios designed by the porn industry to shock and titillate. As a result, regular sexual encounters with a partner may start to feel underwhelming or even impossible to enjoy. Real-life case studies confirm this. Many young men in their 20s report erectile dysfunction, not because of physical issues, but because their arousal system has been hijacked. They can only perform with porn, not with a real partner. Emotional intimacy becomes difficult. Relationships suffer. Some even avoid dating entirely, afraid they can't meet expectations or connect emotionally. And for couples, the damage can be devastating. When one partner is caught in the dopamine loop of porn addiction, the other often feels rejected, unworthy, or emotionally isolated. Therapists often find themselves treating not just one addict, but a damaged relationship. Expert takeaway: a crisis hiding in plain sight. While porn is often trivialized in pop culture, experts are sounding the alarm. Dr. Norman Doidge, author of The Brain That Changes Itself, calls porn a perfect storm of neuroplastic change. It reshapes our brains, warps our desires, and undermines the foundation of human intimacy. What starts as a harmless way to unwind can silently evolve into a deeply ingrained behavioral addiction. And because it's socially accepted, available at your fingertips, free and hidden, it's one of the most insidious addictions of the modern age. Part 2. How life gets fractured. Intimacy, anxiety, shame. Real versus virtual. A brain conditioned to watch porn reacts more as a spectator rather than participant in real life. You experience others rather than experience yourself. That's why many report clinging to the fantasy, not the flesh and blood person. Performance and connection. Anxiety. Men often say they freeze up during sex. I couldn't get it up. I felt nothing. This isn't imaginary, it's neurology. The brain isn't wired for connection, it's primed for viewing. Low emotional arousal, high anxiety, tragically common patterns that often push relationships to the brink. Shame and isolation. The secrecy and stigma of porn addiction are crushing. Alcoholism can be shared publicly. This is hidden in whispers. That shame morphs into isolation, which only reinforces the cycle. I'm the only one, I'm broken, and shame shrinks the world. Part 3. When war meets addiction, they had the internet on the battlefield. Hundreds of returning soldiers from Iraq and Afghanistan report disturbing porn escalations tied to violent or risk-driven content. Their brains had been primed by combat. Suddenly, sex and violence got indistinguishable. The addition of internet porn made this even more problematic. Experts describe these scenarios as explosive combinations of trauma plus addictive distraction, a perfect storm. Part 4. Hit pause. Why total abstinence is the best reset. The reset rule. When your brain is on continuous dopamine overload, the only effective reboot is a full stop. Abstain completely from porn, not a little break, not guilt-free, harmless use. This zero-tolerance period allows neural pathways to recalibrate. Swap in adaptive behaviors, replace porn with real connection. Exercise, creative work, social engagement, mindfulness. These activities produce dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, but in sustainable, self-reinforcing ways. They revive your emotional palate. Practical tools. Accountability software to block sites. Trusted partner or sponsor who reviews browsing logs. Therapy, especially cognitive behavioral or trauma-informed support groups. Porn Addicts Anonymous or sex addiction groups. Part 5. A roadmap to recovery. Step: what to do. 1. Admit the issue. The first key step in any addiction. Break. 2. Identify triggers, emotion, time, loneliness. 3. Set strict boundaries. Phone password share. Accountability apps. 4. Build new routines, exercise, volunteer. Create. 5. Seek help. Therapist, sponsor, community. Even facing shame upfront. 6. Track progress. No porn, no relapse, incremental wins. Part 6. Real talk. Hear these voices. I couldn't get to sleep unless I had at least one video lined up. I felt alone. like no one knew how brutal this felt. These testimonials speak to isolation and compulsion, but so does every person who's taken one step forward. Connection disarms shame and starts the healing curve again. Conclusion: you're not broken, you're wired. Porn addiction isn't moral failure, it's neurological conditioning. The shame isn't your fault, but the breakthrough is your choice. Here's the reality. To heal, you need emotion, connection, support, and discipline. Can you do it? Absolutely. Thousands are rebuilding their brains every day. Found this useful? Be sure to hit like, subscribe for more deep dives, and share this with someone who deserves to know they're not alone. Comment below with your thoughts. What part resonated most, or what's your #1 action step after watching? What happens and what helps porn rewires the brain like a hard drug via dopamine overload? Escalation desensitizes, making real intimacy harder. Shame compounds addiction, but sharing breaks the cycle. Recovery equals total stop plus adaptive replacements plus support structures. You aren't broken, you're just human, and you can rewire. Timeline breakdown. Week 0, awareness and admission. Weeks 1 through 4, abstinence and behavioral tracking. Months 2 through 3, neural recalibration, confidence in real intimacy. 6+ months, new identity formed, liberated, connected, free. Commit today. Delete triggers, tell one trusted person, set a blocking tool, and craft a new daily routine. With patience and support, your brain can heal, and your life can reconnect in ways porn never could. You've got this.